Good evening and welcome to Skits and Quibbles. It's another episode of our Spotlight series where we get to bring you the best talent that the creative industry can give. This week, we're talking with Ena Loum. She is a children's author, a romance author, as well as a youth worker. And she will be giving us readings from her work, as well as talking to us about how to get started in writing. But before we meet her, please join me on the main stage. So today, I thought I would talk about how to stand in a burlesque kind of way. Now, what I mean by this is, you see dancers have their hands on their hips quite a lot. Now, this is fine, having your hands was in that L shape on your waist there, but it does mean you kind of sink in and your posture's not that great. If I turn to the side, you can really see what I mean by that. How we stand with our hands on our hips in burlesque is you put your hands flat on your hips, on your waist, and that brings your rib cage up. It makes your posture that little bit straighter. And again, if I turn to the side, you get that nice alignment. So when you think about putting your hands on your hips, don't think so much bus stop. Instead, think burlesque. Are you warmed up? Are you ready for the fabulous Ena Loum? Take it away, Ena.
Tiger. The tiger in the jungle. Tiger in rage. Keep away from humans, or you will end up in a cage. Time. Time waits for no one. Time stops for no one. So enjoy your time with your family. Enjoy your time at school and make lots of friends. Make a lot of happy memories.
Ena, welcome to the show. What fun! What inspired you to write this fabulous poem book?
Oh, I would say childhood memories. Childhood memories. It is a storybook in as much as short poetry as well as children's stories, not only written by myself, but starring children in the UK, primary school children and secondary school children, as well as the Gambia.
Wow.
What we aim to do with this one is to inspire the young into creative writing, get to share their memories, what they're feeling, things that they can talk about in person, try and have it in words. And again, trying to inspire them to look into the positives of life and see how best we can introduce change in the lightest, hardest way possible, through education, through family life, through society, and everyday life, really.
I think that's such a wonderful
We've just launched this one, actually, on Friday the 12th, not long ago. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Audrey.
And what I love about this, and this takes me back to my childhood where there was not much representation. I couldn't see myself on any of these, whereas here I am seeing young people of all ethnicities. Why is representation so important?
Oh, gosh. In this day and age, in the modern society we find ourselves in today, representation is very key, I would say, in everything we do, because the children are going into school and some of them are struggling with what we call identity crisis. And instead of talking about it, they will look into other platforms like social media, looking for validation and looking for someone else, just a sense of community, a sense of belonging. Whereas that's the second sequel in that book. You can see children of all colors and race and all backgrounds, as you just mentioned. Personally, when I first started reading my children's books, there was no representation.
No.
I couldn't see myself in the stories I was reading. So it actually awakened this sense in me that, you know what, I need to write about something I can relate to.
Yes.
We sing songs in the streets, we play around, we play hopscotch and all that, but we're not being represented in any of the stories.
It's universal that we do this.
Yes, it was all too scripted. But leaving the human element, the human connection, I haven't seen that connection. Yes, where am I in all this? So that inspired it, not only looking at children in the schools in the UK, but the Gambia as well, because my heritage is from the Gambia. I try to correlate the two. You know what? There's not much of a difference. There is so much similarities. Yes. So this book is just trying to foster different cultures in different communities around the world.
I think that's so beautiful and so important. How do you encourage authors to get more representation into their work? I mean, I know you're talking about, you can write about your own heritage, but what about your Caucasian authors, your white authors, who maybe haven't had that experience, but they want to? How would you encourage them?
I would say mingle.
Yes.
Because let's start with our children, the schools they're attending. Meeting parents forums, just even at the school gate. Say hello, hi to the next person you see. Talk to the parents. And then again, as a person, if we do a little bit more reading into different cultures, different backgrounds, let's not just shut down the doors to the books. They're on the shelves. Oh no, I'm leaving it. It's not for me. Books are for everyone.
Yes.
And reading on different cultures just awakens your awareness in what's going on around you in as much as society. And you read about different cultures. We travel around a lot, actually. We go different countries. So if you read in a book about someone's culture or history, you tend to appreciate the culture more. And you fit in when you do go to that country.
Of course,
you realize everyone else is actually the same.
Yeah.
We are the same. We share so much commonalities that we tend to sidetrack. But a power of a book can just help us bring that to light.
And that's such a wonderful message to be teaching children as well.
At early age.
And what you do is you encourage children to write poems and stories. I know writing can be very scary at school. You stare at that blank piece of paper. How do you help a child who maybe, I don't have that idea?
Yes, yes. I think in some of the books, I'm not sure this one has got it. Yes, in all the books, what we try to do is we will leave blank pages in there.
Oh, I love this!
I think that was the first one. This one's got it. We'll say, now that you've read all of that you've just seen, write your own story.
Yes.
Because what that does is it will just enhance the child's imagination.
Yes.
Probably when they were reading it, there's something, one or two things they think, you know what, no, I would have rather written it this way. Or no, it shouldn't be that way. Or I've experienced it differently. Probably the author is just being too nice, or probably I'm not being, it's not being fairly represented, certain communities and all that. Write your own story. And we do invite you to send it in to us, actually. We'll have people looking at it. A board will look at it during the summer. We have a summer writing challenge that goes on in all the schools. Just email it to us. So you can send us your poems, your writing, and then we'll share it. That's the first sequel, actually. And that one, we've got 12 plus in this one. It's got very interesting titles in there, very relevant to society in as much as we've got one of them called The Basking Lights, which is about child trafficking.
So very...
Yes, very relevant that we don't get to talk about it, but it's happening in our communities, in our societies.
Gosh.
There is a lot of stigma around it. Some families will not want to talk about it, but child trafficking is very real. Child exploitation is very real. Grooming is very real, and it's happening in everyday society, modern day society, I would say. And what do we do to tackle it from the grassroots? So things like these, someone sharing their experiences, whether it was child abuse, domestic abuse, poverty, or whatever they were going through, having it in words, and just anonymous, actually, that hasn't got a name on it, but it's written by a child. So the question remains, did they experience it? What are they trying to tell us here?
I mean, I'm just reading some of it. She says, hunted like a prey. It wasn't long before a hunter was rewarded. It's so... It's scary.
Yeah, it is.
And to hear it from a child who has experienced this, but also it's therapeutic for them to write.
It is for them to therapy. It's very therapeutic for them to write it because they get it out of their chest.
Yes.
And you never know, a parent or a guardian might come across this book one day.
Yes.
Because it's out there, and the schools would have advertised that, oh, our children are taking part in so and so, because we do give a copy to all the children that have taken part.
Yes.
So you never know, a parent might read it and just have that conversation, that difficult chat with your child. What is going on? Are you okay today? What's been happening at school? Or you've been in your bedroom the whole day. What's going on? Do you want to talk about it? If they're not open to talking about it, do you want to write about it? This is the sort of things that we try and inspire in the children.
And I think this is quite important. And you have got age ranges on this. So
this is quite sensitive.
Yes, absolutely. This one has sensitive material, so it is 12 plus.
12 plus, yes.
But I think schools are scared about having these conversations.
Yes, true.
So how would you encourage a teacher to actually start talking about this? I mean, for me, it would be a case of this book starts the conversation.
Yes. Again, we've got literature clubs, we've got after-school clubs. I would start, because sometimes within the curriculum it's difficult to put in certain social topics. I know they've got sexual awareness or sexual education now in schools from 12, actually, quite early on. And some parents will not want their children exposed to certain materials the class is showing. But if the schools have the funding to run these after-school clubs, being it a creative writing club, a social club, or just getting to know each other club, or library club even, some libraries are closing sadly in some of the schools, or even within your local library itself, there are Sunday clubs for reading clubs. We've got youth reading clubs we're trying to introduce in my local library. They've got it actually, but I'm trying to just see if I can enhance it more, participate more. With the youth reading club, pick up any book off the shelves. It doesn't have to be mine. Any of the books about bullying, about culture, about social cohesion and all this, it starts the conversation.
I
and
love
then
that.
You will tactically see how you can bring in the unspoken topics.
Yes.
How do you bring up, do you know, just make it up if you want, X, Y, and Z yesterday was told to give their phone number online.
Let's
do you
talk
know
about this.
X, Y, and Z was asked to send their photos online?
Yeah.
Have you experienced it? Or do you know someone else who's just start, do you know those provoking topics, those question openers? Find somewhere to start, because I'm not the expert in this, but there are professionals who are well trained who can just have that conversation beginners.
Facilitate that. No, you're absolutely right. And I think taking off the curriculum is a great way to find that opportunity to speak. That's so important. And yes, you're absolutely right. There are people who could facilitate it if you needed that.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the next reading that you're going to do.
Ooh, the next reading, I think, will come from this first one.
Yes.
It's called, I think, the Culture Day. Is it Culture Day? Culture Day, maybe.
Culture Day, okay.
I think it's in this one. Inspired by the recent Rivers Festival. It was already written before, but why I'm mentioning it on this platform today, because seeing the so much representation on that River Festival Day was really heartwarming for me to see.
Oh.
I've seen the Greek, I've seen the Turkish, I've seen the Italian, I've seen the Spanish, I've seen, the Thai. I've seen all sorts of food stalls on that day. And it's beautiful for our children to see that.
Yes.
In all the food stalls, I had got people queuing for that food. They're not necessarily native of that country.
Yes.
And that was nice to see. And the parade was beautiful. It was fun. So when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the studio next week. This will be a very good opportunity to mention Culture Day. It was written by a child as well. Inspired by the friendship group that she has, because it's titled here, Loving Foods.
Oh, wow.
What the children have noticed, we're just running to go home. What's your mom cooking today?
It's true. Yes. That's what we used to ask.
Yes. My mom's having, some lasagna. There's, my mom's having biryani. Oh, no, we're having this. And those are the foods we have in our restaurants today.
Do you know what? That took me straight back to my own childhood. My best friend was Greek. And I learned to eat snails.
Yes, there you go.
10 years old
there
because
you go.
of that. Oh my goodness.
There you go. And then it says, I will not read all of it, it's a long poem, but it says, so many different loving foods. Why don't we ask our parents to have a culture day? Layla said, her eyes beaming with that excitement and her mouth watering as she imagined the different cuisines. We can all try each other's foods. What do you say? Yay, Culture Day! They all screamed, and from then onwards, the children enjoyed Culture Day with plenty of loving foods for everyone. And it was a street party. You can see the flags representing all the different countries.
Friendship, from Annabelle in Cardiff. We made friendships that bud and blossom, like summer in full bloom. Over time we grow together, and it would bring us a harvest of joy and happiness. We can sustain it all through our lives, through wind, winter and snow. So let us not hoard it, let us share it and make it grow.
I would struggle choosing a favourite poem, choosing a favourite theme, and you yourself have written so many books. Do you have a favourite?
That is, I would say, a difficult question. I might have a favourite, but am I willing to give it away?
True.
The thing is, in each of the books I've written so far, there is a loosely real life situation in them, either connected to myself or someone I know or the people I support in my charity, which I can give away in detail. And all of them are relevant to society. You might see yourself in one of the books. I might see myself in it. And I can have someone else read it and say, oh, are they talking about me? When I've never met you in life. But that's how I try to bring connectivity, the human element into the stories I write. Some of them have definitely got more impact on my life than some of them, but all of the books I've written have got someone relevant to society nowadays.
I think that's key.
So it
actually
will be hard to choose for me to choose a favorite.
Oh, what very diplomatic answer as well there. But on that, when you talk about all of the stories you write have that representation, what is missing from both adult fiction and children's fiction that you see on the shelves?
There is a lot of literature out there, so many good books out there. Sometimes we shy away from the real stories. We don't tend to write about exactly how we feel. If you look about it, in some authors, you want to mirror either what you've seen happen to someone else, or you want to hide your identity, or you want to paint a certain image of a character. You're thinking, what would my readers say to this? Are they relatable to my stories? Or is it too much to say? Will I be condemned? Will I be judged? Those sort of things make us shy away from certain topics that really matters. And we need that human connection in what we write. Because a plot or a scheme of a book or a story, movies and everything else is as good as it gets. Only if you can have that warmth, that connection, that feeling. I want you to read the book and feel it within you. That, oh, I can feel something. Yes. Oh, I can relate to this. Because once you have that connection, it stays with you forever, and you take it to the next person you meet.
Yes.
You tend to have that community, sense of community, conversation begins. Yeah. Even with your children, a storybook is a very good way to start having that talk with your children. You can have that conversation within your friends, within your partner. Oh, there's a romancing scene in that one.
True.
But how come we don't get to try that? You know, have that human element on it. Just get to have fun.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's really important. We forget that sometimes. Yes. Now, what if you've got, and this is adults as well, actually, who want to write, but we see it in children in schools. They're told you've got to write a story, and no one knows how to start. Everyone just knows story, beginning, middle, and end. I don't think that's enough of a structure to really help. How would you help us make that start to write a story?
Everyone has got a different method, probably. My own method is I have a notebook with me everywhere I go. Yes. Because, as the saying goes, every good story began with an idea, and that idea could come to you anywhere. Yeah. Being it in the shower, in the kitchen, in your local park, in the pub, wherever you go at work, that inspiration can come to you. Yes. So you have the idea. Where do you begin? Where do you start? Some of us struggle to even just have that opening sentences. Yes. This is why there are social clubs and there are writing clubs around. I know we got one local, whether it's still functioning, I'm not sure, in Putney, where you can join a writers club. What they do is every day they will give you a topic or something. They will tell you, choose your own topic. Just write an A4 sheet and you will come in front of the group and you stand in front and you read it out. If you're listening to your own words, how does it sound to you? Is it making sense? Yes. Are the dots missing? And then you got everyone in the room just contributing their opinion once they finish. Yeah. So it's up to you to take it on board. You can get this point better, or would you like to add this? Or they will ask you, actually, what's your message? Yeah. What were you trying to put across? Someone will say, oh, I don't know. We don't just take a deep dive into writing. I tend to map out my individual characters first, and I will have a plot on each chapter, who I want to be in there. So then I will have bullet points under every chapter. I will manage it in such a way. Do I want 5 twist point on us? Or do I want every chapter you introduce something new? I drifted off, but every chapter you can introduce something new. And then when you start writing, stick with the plan first. when you do your first editing, that's when you start adding something new.
Yes.
Or when someone tells you something new, you start adding it, but you have to map it out. You have to map it out, have a bullet point in everything you do. The first names normally come from my head. The last names I get from the critics when a movie finishes.
Brilliant! That's inspiration everywhere.
Yes, I have the characters mapped out. Who needs to be the villain, who needs to be the hero, who needs to be, this, who needs to be. There are fillers in between, those can come. But your main characters, you must map them out. That could help you just to get through that beginner stage of starting into the habit of writing. You've got 1 hour allocated, for instance, half an hour allocated. Say every day I'll write literally about anything. That could work. That's one way. And there are online platforms as well. They'll say, Writers Club, Writers Community, Writers for Beginners. There are so many platforms out there. It's a question of which one do you trust. But I prefer the in-person one.
Yes.
Going into a local club, whether you finish from a gym session or you finish from wherever you decide, just to wind down with a book or just to sit and talk about what's been happening, really. Yeah. So I prefer local clubs or local libraries.
And what's so important about that is you're almost teaching people that feedback is a positive thing.
It is.
Because I think we're so scared about that. Yes. We're so scared about reading what we've done because we think everyone's going to criticise. And there is constructive criticism, which when you get used to, you recognise how helpful it actually is.
Oh, yes, because I've mentioned this before, I'll say it again. My shortcoming is reading my own work again.
Yes.
So each time I write something, I'll hand it over to the next person to read. It could be anyone. As long as you're happy to read, I'll give it to you. And I do take on board. You'll be surprised how many things people can pick up from what you've written that you haven't seen yourself.
Yes. And so what is the next reading that you will be doing?
A poem about a special little girl, and it's titled Zainab and Friends. You can see the little girl in her hijabi scarf representation. One will automatically say, that is a Muslim young lady, but they're just looking at the appearance here. What's beyond that appearance is Zainab has got a learning disability. She's got special needs, educational needs, and she's got autism with other health concerns. She feels isolated half the time, and where does she find her happiness and her, her peace of mind is in her back garden, in the fields playing. Yes. Where she made a beautiful friend or friends, which are monarch butterflies. Yeah. So we'll read that in detail in a little while, but that's Zainab and Friend. Quite interesting story, portray inclusivity in as much as to the young person, even at schools, whatever, there's more to a person than what we see. Let's just try and work on breaking that barrier, get to know the person and try and have an inclusion in everything that we do.
Zainab and Friend. Zainab is a clever little girl with a curious mind. She is different to the other little girls around her. She is always on her feet and tires her mum and dad. She often wanders. She wanders about the world beyond her house. She loves to play in the bushes behind her house. She had a lot of fun memories there. Grandpa watched within eyes view with a crooked cane. Under the watchful eye of Grandpa, she picked wild daisies and made daisy chains. It's there she found a friend too. A cocoon later turned into a caterpillar, but Zainab thought it slept too much. She tried hard to wake it, but it didn't wake up. Every day after school, Zainab would visit her friend. One day she came, but it wasn't there. She sat down in tears. Then something flew and landed on her hand. Over her head flew colourful wings. Her friend the caterpillar was a monarch butterfly and had brought with her many friends. Zainab spread her hands and pretended to fly just like a butterfly. They flew high and low, and she played with them all day long.
I love the way that you use writing to put across such important messages. And have you always wanted to write?
Oh, yes, I have. That is not a difficult question at all. That definitely has been something close to my heart from a very young age, simply because as a child I was poorly for a good number of years, actually. So sitting on a chair, my mom would give me storybooks to read, and during that reading, I developed this habit saying, oh no, that's not how it's meant to be. Oh no, this is how it's meant to be. And that, having said that as well, in as much as not having that representation, I wanted to see myself in the books that I was reading that was in there. It was until secondary schools that I had a book that I was reading for literature, English literature, and then it was written by a Ghanaian author, which was the first black person I saw. I don't normally discriminate and all that. I tend to, not that I shy away from it, but I would love to see myself in the books I read. Yeah. So I said, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to write. And I started off at school, I would write short plays and short stories. We'll have end of year performances. I will write the story, give it to a classmate or classmates we have a drama club. I would sit there watching them. I said, no, you're not doing it right. Oh, no, you're not saying it right. Because I have got this message in everything I write that I want it to be portrayed properly. Yeah. And yes, it's always this happy ending, some would say. But amongst that happy ending, what we have to realize is it didn't start off happy.
There's a journey, isn't
There's a journey that you have to discover or build along the process. You have to see what's your strength alongside it. Did you have the resilience to get to that stage? Again, another message is, did you give up along the way?
Yes.
And again, actually, this is very interesting, we'll come to this later. But once I have those messages, whether it's a child going through a difficult situation at home, whether it's a dysfunctional family you're coming from, none of us in the class is picking it up. But when I sit and look at you or pick it up, I don't want to come to you sometimes not to make you feel awkward. If we write to it in a performance or in a play, you tend to see them come out of their shells.
And talk about it.
And talk about it, that it's okay, that I'm not alone. Someone else is having this in their own homes. It could be not intentional, your parents just being abusive. Or your parents not, telling you how proud they are of your activities. All you see is all the time getting the blame, all the time getting shouted at, or you have too many siblings around the house. You feel like you're not having enough attention. Or teachers feel like they're overwhelmed with work. So I tend to put that in the performances. We'll all end up having a laugh and a giggle, but there's always a message.
Yes.
The teacher will call me at the back end of the class at the end of the day. Where did you learn that from? Or who told you that? I'm like, guess what? You don't have to look far enough. It's right in the class. Watch that person sitting at the back of the class every day, sometimes throwing pencils, sometimes always making that noise. Yeah. They're just trying to get attention.
Yes, of course.
They're just trying to get your attention.
I mean, with that's such incredible resilience that you notice in other people. What about in yourself? Do you mind taking us through some of the highs and lows of your career? Because you are an incredibly successful author and publisher, but there must have been times where you've had to draw on your own strength.
Oh, yes. It's been a journey. It's been a journey. When I sit here smiling, I even often ask myself, how did I live through it? How did I do it? Because I had childhood trauma, leg injury, not going to school for a long time. Yeah. My dad being unwell, my mother raised me by herself. Oh, God. I said, all this I see around me, people, early childhood, teenage pregnancies, I've encountered that among the people I've associated myself with. I'm like, what is going on? Friends not being able to complete their schooling. Wow. People having to come from lone parents, broken homes. I said to myself, when I grow up, I want different. I'm going to make sure I don't go through none of that. But this journey called life, this life book, the script is not that perfect.
Yep.
So what I've come to realize in my own self, I've endured betrayal, I've endured disappointments, I've endured illness. I've got my children, they were ill in hospital for a long time, really serious issues, which I don't even know to go in detail. And I had to dig deep to get the strength within me to watch my child in intensive care every day. The doctor's telling you he or she might not make it. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink, sleep or stay. I lost so much weight. To pick myself up from that, I didn't know how I did it. But the power of a book, the power of a good read makes me forget everything at the end of the day, and I'll have a good sleep. That's my way. Watching my mother struggle gave me the strength to dig deep. And I'm the person who just doesn't want to give up. Each time there's a negativity, I will look at the positive at the other side. Each time a door shuts, I will say, how do I knock on the next door? How do I open the next one? Giving up was not an option. Yeah. I raised my children because my partner early on decided he wants to work international abroad, because the UK, he was not getting the job he wants with his qualification. Again, very personal. I just got it in me to draw it out of me. A first time I have to mention this. People not knowing I raised my children by myself. And thank goodness they've turned out positive the way they are, but it could have gone any other way, like any other children. So I have to dig deep myself to find that strength within me. Writing just happened to come along the way. It was meant to be a retirement plan, but it happens to come early due to circumstances, COVID coming along the way, so I had to have the time. But I had a flourishing career in accounting, which I had to give up. Don't get me wrong, I've got no regrets looking at my children where they are now. I am so proud of how far we've come along as a family without holding any bitterness, any grudge, and we still try to make ourselves better. We still try to work hard to achieve and make sure everything we have, we earn it. We don't want it to be given to us on a silver platter. So it's just through hard work, sheer dedication and commitment, not giving up. That's my secret weapon.
Oh my goodness.
And just make sure I have a smile.
But I can feel your passion.
Just wake up the next day and just smile, because it doesn't matter how bad you have it. I always have inspiration saying someone else has got it worse. That's how I say it. I've got it bad, probably someone else out there is having it worse than I am. So why not just pick myself up? It's not about how many times I fall down, it's about how quickly I get up, dust myself, and just keep marching on.
I know your message is going to resonate with a lot of parents.
All of the parents out there, all the families. Actually, I'm in for the dads club as well, because there are parents that the fathers have to make the tough decisions in having to leave home. It's hard for any parent, because for my other half, my husband to leave us wasn't the easiest decision for him. I can imagine whether he says it's true or not. It's only now that recently, actually, he sat me down to tell me what he's been going through, and not having the courage to share it with anyone, or you feel like you have to be this macho man not to share whatever you're going through. It's breaking homes apart. It's breaking relationships apart, because if I don't know what you're going through, I can't help you. All I see is what's your outside.
What you're putting
across. Yeah. Exactly. But half of them, just put a face across, and the children are growing up not having a father figure around. And the psychological trauma of that, the impact it's having on the children, is really something we need to stop and have a look at. That's why my books are for everyone, being it male or female, but it's more of a support strength as well for every lone parent out there to say, you know what, you can do this.
A mother's hands. A mother's hand is special. They cuddled tight and kept you warm. They bathe and feed you. They cooked, washed, ironed and cleaned the house. At the end of the day, those hands would fold in prayer. They would tuck you in bed and make you comfortable in bed. When you're sad and cry, they wipe your tears and cup your face and make you happy. And they would tell you how much you're loved.
Hi, I'm Kelly Melissa Reinhart, host of Make Mental Health Matter. Join me on Mondays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the Achieve TV network right here on E360 TV.
Ena, we're going to throw you into the Great Dream Challenge now, and this is something we give all our guest stars. It's about, this is the action for happiness, 10 keys to happier living, and all of these things which spell out a great dream really are part of the channels that we can choose in order to build resilience, in order to boost our well-being. And so the challenge is, in 1 minute, I will give you the headings: giving, relating, exercising, and so on, and you're going to tell me one thing that you do that boosts your well-being under those headings. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Giving.
I sponsor children to stay in education.
Relating.
I value family connections.
Exercising.
I take a walk around my park every day.
Appreciating. Noticing.
Every day I appreciate life, what has life given me.
Trying something new.
Oh, I am curious. I like to try different countries, different cuisines, and different things that comes my way every day.
Direction, having a goal.
Oh, I have a purpose in life to make sure every child has a dream to achieve and free education.
Resilience.
Irrespective of your background. I dig deep every day to make sure whatever failures come my way, I look at the positives of it as well.
Wow, emotions, taking that positive approach.
I try to have a laugh at everything I do, and I have a good circle of friends, and I go out often to mingle with my friends.
Acceptance, comfortable with who you are.
I am very comfortable in my own skin. I love who I am.
I love that, and meaning being part of something bigger.
Oh, I'm part of a charity that supports children in Africa to stay in education, and that's very meaningful to us.
Perfect. You're done. Well done. Right to the top of the leaderboard. We've had so many people do this. I shall show you, but not that many have actually been able to get all the way through. And so, Ena, you're going right to the top there. Yay. With our top people. This is how many people have tried this challenge, and you have beaten a lot of them. Well done. Amazing stuff. Let's head back to the studio. Well, congratulations, top of the leaderboard.
Thank you very much.
And I love that. Do you know what I love myself? I think we can all learn from you.
No, this is actually really good. I love that challenge, actually. It's something we should all have in our kitchen notice board. Every day, what do I appreciate? Every day, what do I do giving? It's really good. Or emotional, strength. What do you find strength in? That's really good.
It's a reminder, isn't it? I think that's really key.
It is.
Now, tell me what's next for you.
Ooh. What's next is more writing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting more exposure for my books, which is something I've shied away from, not because I intentionally wanted to, but due to work commitments. I still work full time. And yes, the children are more grown up now. They don't need me that much, but they still need me in the background to steer them in the right direction, give them a little nudge every now and again. But I'd just love to get more awareness onto the writing, onto the work I do, and spend more time with the children I support. From a recent visit, actually, I can mention this. I was in Gambia because I think it was important to meet the children that have participated in the poems.
Yes, of course.
So the children were just so chuffed to see the person in real. I've got another poems. All of a sudden, you got so much interest. I want to join in to say that, you know what, it was real.
Yes.
When we said to you, this is a competition, it's real. Here's a copy of your book, and I am the person behind all this. So the reception was really positive. It was nice to see the interaction and how the children communicated with us. I would love to explore that more, have a sit down and talk to the children more about what matters to them. And I would love to have a parent forum as well, because I tend to concentrate on the children, and there are parents behind in the background that will only come forward when it's really hurting, when they're in the deep end.
And you want to be preventative as much as everything else.
Let's build up on it. Let it be a gradual process. Enjoy everything we do, even if it's at work. Try and talk more. Try and engage in things that inspire us. Try and inspire that positive change in as much as in our workplaces, everyday life, and society overall. So yes, more writing on the cards. I've got a few books under production, hopefully, and then we're looking forward to the next summer challenge, which is on right now, so that will come forward the following year
with another book.
With another book, hopefully, with sequel. In the sequel, with number 3.
Fabulous.
So yes, that's something. Just getting more awareness onto the writing that I do. I've got my career in the background, but you never know. I might, focus on the books. But I think it's something I can do simultaneously.
Yes.
Because this is my leisure. It's something I enjoy, and I feel like society can benefit from it. There's a message in there for everyone.
I agree, and we're going to have Ena's links in the show notes so you can get in touch with her. And what people don't necessarily know is that you are an adult fiction romance author as well. You are. Yes. You are the 21st century Mills and Boon. It's fabulous.
Yes.
And you're going to play us out with a reading from one of your adult fiction books. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's going to be actually. I wish it. I had the first book, The Girl Who Dared to Dream, that was more geared towards the Mills and Boon, because they had a huge impact on my writing when I started that one. That was the first one I wrote out, and that was just raw, fresh emotions that I poured into it. It wasn't perfect, but I wrote from the heart. Yeah. And I believe in romance. I feel like we should spice it up every now and again and be natural about it, because it's part of life, We have to accept it. and it shouldn't be a chore or a boredom and all that. How do we make it exciting every day? Alongside being a good wife, being a good partner, being a good employee, being a good mother, everything else, you've got your romance along the side as well. So that's just it, and this is the valley between. It has got so many twists and turns, but what hasn't died down in it is the romance side of it. After we've talked about the children books, I thought I will introduce you a little bit into my adult writing. I'm a romantic at heart, an optimist as well. So I like to see always the positive of a love story. In as much as the negatives and all that, I would like to talk about the positives, because love is one of the most beautiful things there is on earth. So we should cherish it and try and make the most of it. So this book, I'll do a little reading on today. It's called The Valley Between, one of our latest adult books out in the market. And it's about a classic story of romantics at heart. I'll just read you a little bit about the blurb. It says, a classic story of two young lovers separated by a third wheel in their relationship. Victoria Philpott and Sean Whitbread were childhood sweethearts, deeply in love and separated before they were united in marriage. They were close and felt like an extension of one another. They knew each other so well they could finish each other's sentences. No one could have ever imagined one of them being without the other. But then, their love story is interrupted by a third party. Victoria lives in pursuit of happiness. She finds a new life, but then a man is murdered in cold blood, leaving a mystery and a child to grow up wondering who her father is. The question remains, who did it? In all this, Victoria laughs, she cries, and eventually finds that life is for living in this bittersweet tale of lost love that is both heartbreaking and uplifting. I bring you The Valley Between.